AI, though, already being used by scammers. An Arizona mother claiming a phone scammer used AI to clone her daughter's voice. The caller demanded a $1 million ransom from Scottsdale resident Jennifer DeStefano with what sounded exactly like her daughter's voice in the background. She could hear her crying and saying, "Help me, Mom." DeStefano says that she was terrified during that call, of course, but later confirmed her daughter was safe on a ski trip at the time. She's now speaking out about her experience with the voice scammer amid a rise in so-called caller ID spoofing schemes. And joining us now is former CIA officer and FBI special agent Tracy Walder to discuss. Hi there, Tracy.
Hey, Natasha.
Explain these types of scams. What makes them so convincing, and are they becoming more common now?
So really what we're seeing is an escalation in these types of scams. First we really started out with not using people's voices, however, using the person and knowing where the person was going to be traveling. And now we're seeing this escalation using voice. And a lot of that is because AI technology is changing. And so really what they used to do was create a synthetic voice, but now they're able to grab people's voices off of social media and really clone theirs. And so that's how it's sounding really so lifelike.
And I mean, oftentimes these scammers are calling family members, and they're well versed in this. There are all kinds of things in place to try to keep you on the phone, prevent you from calling 911 or hanging up, being able to call your daughter and make sure that she is okay on the other line. What should someone do if they receive a call and it really does sound like their family member on the line who is in distress and in imminent danger?
Well, I think that the very first thing that they do need to do is try to keep that person on speaker, because obviously it's scary. You don't want to hang up and you don't want to just assume that, that your loved one is not being the victim of this scam. So try to keep that person on speaker and then use the keypad on your phone to then text or email whomever the victim may be. And that way you may still be able to keep them on the phone, but also get confirmation that whomever the target is actually A-OK, and that you are indeed the victim of one of these spoofing scams.
That is absolutely terrifying. In the meantime, is there a way to text 911 to hopefully someone else is there who can involve police? Or what can one actually do in that moment?
I think one of the things that you can do is you can text 911 in that moment. But one of the other things that you can do is you can hit record on your phone, because that might be helpful as well in terms of figuring out who was originally placing that call and where that call came from. So that's another thing. I mean, look, these are increasing. There was, out of the FBI Pittsburgh office, they said last year, in the period of 1 week, there were 450 of these spoofing calls. So these are really, really increasing. And I think it's also really important. They're increasing because of our social media footprints. And it's also one thing that we really need to think about is not putting our travel information on Facebook, on Instagram, on TikTok, because a lot of these people, their job is to scour the internet and look for targets like that who are going to be out of the town, the state, or the country.
And it seems to be becoming more and more popular. In 2022, the FTC saying this is the second most popular racket in this country. 36,000 reports at least of people being swindled by people pretending to be family members, pretending to be friends. $11 million in losses so far. Can anything be done to recover that money once it is wired, once it is sent?
In all honesty, and I don't mean to seem hopeless, if it's being sent out of the country, it's going to be very, very difficult to do. So I think one of the things that we need to think about is that if somebody is asking you for a wire transfer, you really need to think about who is asking for that. And also, if they're asking for it from you in small increments, that should sort of be a wake-up call as well, because a lot of times banks are going to flag those larger money increments. And so I think those are some of the things to sort of keep in the back of your head if you do receive one of these phone calls, because it's going to be really tough to get that money back.
And Tracy, I'm almost thinking, there's already a list that parents run through with their children, what to do if a stranger approaches you, et cetera, et cetera. It's sad that we're even thinking this way, but maybe it would be a good idea for parents or loved ones to have a conversation with their partner or child saying, this is a safe word. This is the word that I will mention to you to prove to you that it is me. Do you think that that might be a viable idea?
I think that that's something that parents should always have with their children. I have one with my 7-year-old, quite frankly. And look, I don't think she's going to be the victim of an AI spoofing scam, but I do think just in terms of any type of security, if a stranger is coming up to you, I think that those are things, discussions we need to be having with our kids really early on, quite frankly.
Okay. Tracy Walder, appreciate your time. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find News Nation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of News Nation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.